Hey everyone, it's Michael. Today I'm going to be doing another episode or episodes review, because this is technically a two-parter, for the old Goosebumps TV show from the 90s. Of course, this is an episode based around Goosebumps One Day at HorrorLand. I love One Day at HorrorLand, the book. I think the episodes are pretty good too, mainly part one out of the two-parter that exists. By the way, this DVD is pretty cool. It also has the two episodes of Welcome to Camp Nightmare, which I might also watch tomorrow or something, God willing, and do a review on that as well, because I think it'd be fun. One Day at Horrorland, Part 1 and Part 2. Again, they're about 20 or so minutes long per episode, so about 40 minutes long. You can breeze through this real quick. The pacing is very fast. It's kind of a rushed editing style, which is very common with the Goosebumps TV show and things like Are You Afraid of the Dark, for example. And yet, it's always effective. It's always effective. I would say part one of this two-parter is genuinely tense and genuinely kind of creepy and eerie and fun. And then part two gets really silly, like way more silly than the actual book got. If you haven't read One Day at Horrorland, you won't find any spoilers here for me for this review. I don't spoil episodes and TV, books, and all that stuff. But the book itself is stellar. It's one of the best Goosebumps books ever written. I've read the sequel, Return to Horrorland, which is from the Series 2000 books, and that was pretty good too. Then you have the big era that was called Goosebumps Horrorland from like 2008. And there's a lot of books there. I haven't read most of them, but I've read maybe 4 or 5 out of like the 19 that exist. And it's pretty good. I like what I've read so far, most of it. Yeah, you know, Horrorland is a very celebrated thing. We have video games now, 2 different video games based around it. You know, this theme park, and basically it's a horror-themed theme park. And for anybody who doesn't happen to know that about Horrorland, if you're watching this review, you're probably familiar with it. But this is a two-parter episode thing that I had never seen when I was a kid. I didn't get to grow up too much on the Goosebumps TV show, aside from some of the Haunted Mask VHS tapes and Night of the Living Dummy 3 on VHS and then on DVD. Welcome to Dead House is one that I had on DVD when I was a kid that I loved tremendously, but it also creeped me out a lot. Werewolf of Fever Swamp. But One Day at Horrorland, I never got to appreciate this. I never read the book when I was a kid. I don't know why. I wish I had, because it's stellar. It is so freaking great. And I think I prefer the ending and stuff for that book compared to the two-parter episode thing. The episode changes a lot. It really does. This is Season 3, Episodes 8 and 9. They premiered October 25th, 1997, and the second part premiered November 1st of 1997, which I would have almost been 3 years old around that time. That's pretty cool. The acting here is fine, pretty much. It's not the best when it comes to the horrors themselves, the theme park mascots. They have many different designs, many different costumes. This is the kind of thing where they're using practical effects and makeup and stuff. It looks great. I love the horrors here. I love their personality, mainly in part 1. Part 2, it gets a little bit weirder and wonkier and sillier. Again, a lot more so than the actual book itself. So I think in some regard, I was kind of disappointed the first time I ever saw this, about maybe 6 months ago. I think I watched it for the first time, and it really kind of let me down in that way. But at the same time, this is a higher budget two-parter, in my opinion, when it comes to Goosebumps episodes. We have amazing looking sets, we have amazing looking theme park stuff, some really cool CGI stuff. One in particular that I'll get to later in the review. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I have a lot of different things I want to talk about without trying to spoil too much. But when it comes to the actual plot, let's kind of start there and I'll work my way into everything else. So the plot itself, of course, there is a family. It is a mother, a father, and a brother and sister. In the book, there is also a friend of the main character's brother. His name is Clay. And Clay is not in the movie episode, TV episode, whatever, at all. And I was kind of bummed about that when I first saw this. I was a little shocked, you know, but I guess he's not really necessary. It didn't really matter if he was here or not, but it would have been nice, you know. I like Clay, you know. So Clay's not in here. That's already a weird difference immediately. But essentially the family is lost in trying to find a theme park adventure ride type thing, a petting zoo type thing for their vacation as a family. They're having a lot of arguments. The parents are starting to argue and stuff. It gets a little close to home, you know, because that happens in everybody's family who take family vacations. It gets a little too real to life, and I'm a little surprised R.L. Stine was like, yeah, let's go ahead and, you know, make that the thing that we do here. Because R.L. Stine has said on numerous occasions that when it comes to Goosebumps and Fear Street and stuff, he doesn't want to put like drug addiction and like parents and divorce stuff type happening. because it's so real and it's such an issue in society now. And I'm really amazed by that, because nobody else says that. No politicians say things like that. Most creators do not say things like that because they want to be quote-unquote realistic, rather than realize what their audience actually takes away from this and how much it's too close to their reality typically. But the parents start arguing and bickering and stuff, and it gets kind of tense there even amongst the actors and actresses and stuff. It's pretty impressive. Eventually they find their way into this area where they see these signs leading to a place called HorrorLand, and they decide to go ahead and follow it. They go to this theme park through the gates and stuff, and they get to the parking lot and they turn their car off and they get out. They're pretty much just going to ask for directions on how to get to the actual place they want to go. And this is immediately where it starts varying from the actual book itself. Again, I personally think the book is way, way, way better than the episodes. The episode is filled with cheesiness and charm from the 90s, and it's glorious. If you're a 90s cheesehead, you'll love this. You'll absolutely love this. It is so much fun, and it's so wild and silly. It's like a completely different thing almost from the actual book itself, or books. And it's different, and it's fun, and it's refreshing, you know? If we ever got a Goosebumps 3 movie or any kind of Goosebumps reboot thing and we touched Horrorland at all, I would really like to see some references to the TV episode. But basically the family gets in there, they decide to spend a little time in Horrorland itself, try out some of the rides and stuff, just because they want to relax until they can find some directions to get to the place they need to go for that other vacation they actually originally wanted to go to. And the rides are pretty terrifying. One of the first things they encounter in the episode is one of my favorite things in Goosebumps ever, and if I had seen this as a child, it would have traumatized me and I would have never forgotten it. A horror walks up to the family and is talking, and he's holding something that looks kind of fuzzy, you know, has a lot of like hair looking stuff. It's a human head of a woman, and the head is still alive and looks at the family and is like, don't go on like the decapitation or ride or whatever it's called. Sharp turns, I think is what she said, something like that. Gets me every time. And the actress is not the greatest, but that CGI and stuff, again, very 90s, very like Spy Kids 3D type CGI, and it's glorious. It's absolutely amazing to watch. If you're especially a kid who grew up in the 90s like myself, this stuff is amazing. It reminds me of how much I love 90s TV and 80s TV and stuff like that. Can't pass it up. But the family aren't traumatized by this for whatever reason. It would have scared me to death if I had seen that when I was a child. I was a scaredy cat. I still am a scaredy cat. It still scared me when I watched it for the first time 6 months ago. I had never seen this until about 6 months ago, like I said. And that scene, it didn't make me jump, but it kind of startled me in a weird way. Like, I didn't expect to see that in Goosebumps. Season 3 was doing stuff like this. It really surprised me. But anyway, let's move on, though. So the kids walk around the park and get away from their parents and try out some of the rides, just like in the book. There's certain things that I wish had been in here that could have been in here, and there's kind of a thing kind of like it, but not really. They go into a Hall of Mirrors, for example. And the Hall of Mirrors is pretty eerie. They have some scary stuff in there, I would say, in this part 1 of the 2-part episode. And there was a particular ride in the books that I love to death. It's called the Doom Slide. Now, if you don't know what the Doom Slide is, basically you get inside of this thing. It's a slide, just like you'd go to at a park, and there's a bunch of holes, right? And you get into one, and if you pick the wrong one out of any of those, you'll slide down the slide for all of eternity. I don't know what it is about that idea. It's not that it's scary, it's just bothersome. You know, just the whole idea of that is so out there. You know, like, R.L. Stine is a very creative guy, I think. I don't think he gets enough creativity or enough credit for how creative he actually is. And to be involved in so many different horror series and everything over the years, and I know there's the rumors that he didn't write all of it, but to have so many different series going on and so many different ideas, maybe even if he was just the ideas man, seriously, dude, this guy is creative. That idea of the Doom Slide is just awesome, and I love it in the book. I think it's one of the best scenes from the books ever. I love when other series, like Give Yourself Goosebumps, references that and talks about the Doom Slide. That's awesome. I think Carnival of Horrors was one of them, the first book in the Give Yourself series. I think Escape from the Carnival of Horrors actually had that in there, I think. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it was there. But moving along, though, You do have some other rides, like the Coffin Cruise is in here. You have the Hall of Mirrors, like I said, was pretty cool. The Hall of Mirrors is not technically a ride, but it's an attraction, you know, so that was pretty neat. I like stuff like that. I'm a big theme park guy. When I had my back injury last year, I can't physically go to things like the fair very often, and yet I love it and I miss it. I've always enjoyed stuff like that. I love going to the beach and having the small carnival that's near our beach, that's in the midst of that beach. It's just a great thing, man. It's so nice and so cool. I'm not a rides guy so much. I just like being in the environment of like carnivals and smelling the food and stuff. You know, I love that. Is anybody else like that? It's just great. It's such a great environment to be around. So lively, you know, so lively. Everybody's having fun with stuff like that. But this whole setting for HorrorLand feels legit in my opinion. Yeah, it's kind of in the woods. Yeah, it's kind of low budget, but also bigger budget than most Goosebumps episodes. But I love it. I love the look of the place. I think it's so much fun. So much fun. But then, like I said, we end part 1, and I won't spoil any more of the story for you. But part 2 starts, right? And the family kind of connects again, and they start realizing, of course, how horrifyingly weird this place is. And part 2 becomes the super wild, weird thing. Like, it becomes, like, real over the top. And some of the stuff is in the book. But it becomes so over the top and wild, and the acting gets really, really over the top. Part 2 does not impress me as much as part 1 does. Part 1 seems like a genuinely trying to be scary type thing, and really in a lot of ways succeeding, especially the scene about the parents trying to get juice, or the punch, or whatever. If you remember that scene, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to spoil that, but you remember that probably. But the second part of this two-parter is really, really just not that engaging in my opinion. It's got one of the weirdest endings for any Goosebumps episode I've ever seen in my life. It's just a weird paced thing. And then the finale of the episode is pretty surprising. I mean, I'm pretty surprised that we went that way with what happens to the family, in regards to what happens to the family. I'm very surprised about how this episode ended. It's kind of surprising. I didn't think we'd ever see something like that in Goosebumps. I don't know. It really surprised me. It really impressed me. But when it comes to One Day at Horrorland, this is a really fun episode. The music is great. Like I said, you have a lot of the cheesier special effects that may scare kids and maybe make adults laugh, you know, or if your kids are a little bit more mature and they're more exposed to horror and stuff, they're probably going to laugh about a lot of the stuff too. But I think it's genuinely effective. If you like theme park type things, or if you're just a fan of HorrorLand, the book series and stuff, this is good. This is really, really fun. I really enjoyed it. I couldn't recommend it enough. Now, of course, when I do my ratings for these Goosebumps episodes, for anybody who doesn't remember me saying this, or if you didn't happen to see the episodes where I talked about that, or if this happens to be your first time watching my channel, I kind of review on a biased type thing, like least favorite episode to favorite episode. My favorite episode of all time is Not a Living Dummy 3. That two-parter is incredible. Haunted Mask 1 and 2 would be way up there as well, probably. I have to rewatch them, I'm not sure, but they probably are. Pretty high-quality episodes. But, then, the lower quality ones would probably be some of the worst ones, I'm trying to think of some of the ones off the top of my head. There's certain ones that I remember not liking as much. I don't want to spoil it for you in case I do future reviews for certain ones. But then you have ones that I like that nobody else likes, like Ghost Beach. I really enjoy Ghost Beach a lot. But I just want to give you kind of a general range for how I rate these things. It's not so much based around quality of filmmaking. It's not so much based around the directing style or how clever it is or anything like that. It's not so much based around that. It's more about how much did I enjoy this? How much does this feel like Goosebumps? And with this episode, even something as simple as the designs for the horrors themselves, the icons in the actual Disneyland theme park HorrorLand thing, I love the design for them. I think the makeup and practical effects with that look incredible. I have such a good time when I watch this first part of the two-parter, and then the second part's not that bad. The second part of the episode actually reminds me a lot of Vacation with Chevy Chase, the original movie. Just the humor, the weirdness to it, even though it's not the same scenario, but still. Really fun stuff. I had a really good time watching this again tonight. I'm glad I did. I kind of wanted to watch some of the summertime type episodes, since we're at the tail end of summer. We're in the middle of August right now. I can't believe September's almost here. Oh my god, this year's flown by. But I really wanted to kind of watch some of the summertime episodes to kind of end up and round up the end of this year with reviews and stuff. But I had a blast watching this, like I always do. It ain't perfect. Like I said, part 2 of the two-parter is not the best thing. It's kind of almost more ridiculous, but a higher quality in production compared to a lot of Goosebumps stuff. Episode-wise, is what I mean. But like I said, the first part of the episode's kind of creepy sometimes. It has some things in here that I don't know how kids would react. I know it would have scared me, but I don't know about your basic kid. But yeah, I really dig One Day at Horrorland, the two-parters from 1997. If I had to recommend anything for you for this, I would totally recommend One Day at Horrorland. Really good episodes, especially if you're a big Carney-type fan, if you like carnival-type things or theme park-type ideas. Even though there's no like roller coasters or anything like photoshopped into this or anything like that, which could have been cool, but they don't have anything like that here, so it is what it is. If we ever got like a Carnival of Horrors thing, then that would be cool. We could have that there with like the roller coaster and stuff. But with Horrorland, they don't really have that, even though they have it on the cover and stuff to try to mislead people. It's actually, they have like things like the Ferris wheel and stuff on the original cover for the old book, too. So, yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. But again, the book is so much better. The book is so fantastic. I would not steer you wrong. One Day at Horrorland is one of the best Goosebumps books I've ever read in my life. I've read a ton so far, and I'm telling you, it's one of the best. One of the top 10 for me. And for most people, I would say it's in their probably top 10, especially when it comes to just the original classic books, too. It's quite an experience. I did not expect it to be as good as people made it out to be. But anyway, One Day at Horrorland, the two-parter from the TV show. What did you guys think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you say about my review or about the episodes themselves or even about the book or the book series, whatever you'd like to talk about with that. When it comes to this two-parter for One Day at Horrorland, if I had to rate this on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give this about a 4 out of 5. The reason it's not a 5 out of 5, as much as I love the first episode, and the first episode itself would probably be a 5 out of 5, the second part really drags a lot. It becomes so silly and so over the top that it really kind of ruins a lot of the first episode's mystique and worry and intensity. But yeah, this is good. I dig this. I'm curious about what Welcome to Camp Nightmares episode will be like, because I read the book recently. And the book was, for the most part, really good. So I'm curious about what the episodes will be like. I think I've seen at least the second part's ending for that. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hopefully I can get another review for a TV episode up for you sometime soon. But yeah, I'm just in a review mood recently. Like, I want to watch episodes of the show and stuff and talk about them. But only for episodes I've read the book so far. I don't want to get myself too ahead of the curve for myself. But anyway, thank you for watching. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.